The story of the fall of Jericho is a powerful narrative of faith, obedience, and divine intervention. After the death of Moses, God appoints Joshua as the leader of the Israelites. Joshua, a central figure in the biblical narrative, emerges as a symbol of leadership, faith, and obedience. Chosen by God to succeed Moses, Joshua is portrayed as a courageous and devout individual who leads the Israelites into the promised land of Canaan. His unwavering belief in God's guidance and his strategic acumen inspire those around him to trust in the divine plan. Joshua's character embodies qualities of strength, humility, and resilience, making him a pivotal figure in the story of the fall of Jericho. Joshua's first major task is to lead the people across the Jordan River into the Promised Land. They face their first major obstacle, the fortified city of Jericho. In the unfolding saga of the conquest of Jericho, two spies were dispatched by Joshua to gather crucial intelligence about the city. These clandestine emissaries, shrouded in secrecy and determination, embarked on a covert mission to survey the fortifications and inhabitants of Jericho. With steely resolve and keen observation, they braved the unknown territories within the city walls, navigating through the streets with caution and discretion. Upon their arrival, the spies sought refuge within the unlikely abode of Rahab, a courageous and unsuspecting figure in God's grand design. Disguised in anonymity, they concealed their true identities and motives, conceiving a plan to unravel the mysteries of Jericho. Rahab, with her unwavering faith and discerning spirit, welcomed these strangers into her home, unaware of the pivotal role she would play in the impending events. Who would have imagined that a prostitute could be a part of God's plan? When the spies arrived, they said to Rahab, "We seek refuge. Can you hide us from the king's men?" Recognizing the spies as Israelites, Rahab hid them on her roof and deceived the king's messengers, who had arrived to arrest the two spies. When they asked Rahab, she said to the king's messengers, "Yes, two men did come here, but they left at dusk. If you hurry, you can catch them." Rahab reveals her faith in the God of Israel and recounts the miracles he performed for the Israelites. In awe of the God of Israel, she told the spies, "I know that the Lord has given you this land. Please spare me and my family when you conquer Jericho." The spies promised Rahab that she and her family would be spared. Early the next day, she let the spies down the city wall with a scarlet cord. This was the cord they advised her to hang from her window, saying, "Tie this scarlet cord in your window as a sign of our agreement. Your household will be safe when we attack Jericho." A scarlet cord became a sign for the safety of Rahab and her family. As the spies engaged in their reconnaissance, they gleaned valuable insights into Jericho's defenses and vulnerabilities, meticulously documenting their findings to aid Joshua and the Israelites in their imminent conquest. Little did they know that their encounter with Rahab would mark the beginning of an unlikely alliance, blending faith, loyalty, and secrecy in the tapestry of their mission. As the spies left, she said, "Go, and may the God of Israel protect you. Remember your promise to spare my family." The spies returned to Joshua and reported what they had seen in Jericho, including Rahab's assistance in her request for safety. They told Joshua, "The city is heavily fortified, but Rahab, a woman of faith, has pledged her allegiance to us and seeks our protection." With the information from the spies and Rahab's assistance, Joshua and the Israelites prepare to conquer Jericho, knowing that God is with them. Through the lens of these two spies, we witness a narrative of intrigue, courage, and unforeseen alliances, setting the stage for the unfolding drama of the fall of Jericho and the pivotal roles they would come to play in the miraculous events to come. As the Israelites stood on the eastern banks of the Jordan River, Joshua prepared them for a miraculous crossing into the Promised Land. Joshua addressed them, saying, "Prepare yourselves, for the Lord will do wonders among us today. Follow closely and trust in his guidance." Joshua instructed the people to consecrate themselves, purifying their hearts and minds for the miraculous event. Joshua told the priests, "Sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will perform wonders before our eyes." Early the next morning, Joshua and the Israelites set out, with the Ark of the Covenant leading the way. Joshua instructed the priests carrying the Ark, "Take up the Ark of the Covenant and lead the way. As soon as your feet touch the waters of the Jordan, they will part." The Ark of the Covenant, a sacred and revered symbol of God's presence among the Israelites, held deep significance in their history and faith. This revered artifact, containing the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai, represented the covenant between God and his people. The men entrusted with carrying the ark bore a great responsibility, symbolizing the unity and sanctity of the 12 tribes of Israel. As the priests carrying the ark stepped into the waters of the Jordan, a remarkable event unfolded. The river, stirred by the presence of the ark, miraculously parted, creating a dry path for the Israelites to cross. Upstream, the waters stood up like a wall, allowing the people to traverse the riverbed on foot. This extraordinary occurrence symbolized God's power and faithfulness, guiding his people on their journey into the Promised Land. At the sight of this miraculous work God performed, the Israelites whispered in awe, "Surely the Lord is with us. He has parted the waters for our passage." With the ark and all the people safely across the Jordan, the priests brought it to rest on the western bank. As soon as the priests stepped out of the river, the waters returned to their place, flowing as before. With this miraculous sign, the Israelites recognized Joshua's leadership and God's presence as they set up camp at Gilgal. They recounted how God had helped Moses and said to Joshua, "As the Lord was with Moses, so he is with you. We will follow wherever you lead us." Joshua reflected on God's miraculous crossing and faithfulness as the Israelites prepared to conquer the Promised Land. Then Joshua prayed, "Lord, you have again proven your power and faithfulness. Guide us as we continue our journey into the land you have promised us." With the Jordan River crossed, the Israelites stood on the threshold of their inheritance, ready to fulfill the promise of God and conquer the land of Canaan. With the miraculous crossing of the Jordan River behind them, Joshua led the Israelites into the heart of Canaan. Joshua received divine instructions for a lasting memorial as they set up camp at Gilgal. Joshua addressed the Israelites, "The Lord has commanded us to take 12 stones from the Jordan River as a memorial of his faithfulness." Joshua selected 12 men, one from each tribe, to retrieve stones from the riverbed. The chosen men ventured into the riverbed, gathering 12 large stones. The first man lifted a stone and said, "These stones will serve as a reminder of God's power and faithfulness." Joshua instructed, "Arrange the stones in a prominent place at our campsite, that all may see and remember God's mighty deeds." Meanwhile, 2 spies sent by Joshua secretly observed the Canaan inhabitants' movements and report, "The people of Canaan are fearful of us, knowing of the miraculous crossing of the Jordan. They are ripe for defeat." Rahab, the prostitute who aided the Israelite spies in Jericho, contemplates her future amidst the preparations for war. She told herself, "I must ensure the safety of my family when the Israelites attack Jericho. My faith in their God will be my salvation." With the memorial stones erected and Rahab's faith demonstrated, the stage is set for the Israelites' conquest of Canaan. But unknown to the inhabitants, intrigue and deception abound, and the fate of Jericho hangs in the balance. As the Israelites camped at Gilgal, Joshua received divine instructions to circumcise the new generation born in the wilderness, renewing their covenant with God. This ancient ritual, marking the physical sign of the covenant between God and the descendants of Abraham, was deemed essential before the Israelites confronted their enemies. So Joshua addressed the Israelites, "The Lord has commanded us to circumcise all the males among us as a sign of our covenant with him." Under the guidance of Joshua, the Israelite men gathered at Gilgal to fulfill the divine decree. As each man underwent the rite of circumcision, a solemn and reverent atmosphere enveloped the camp. The Israelites, mindful of the significance of this act, saw it as a symbolic gesture of their dedication, commitment, and loyalty to God. The Israelite men were circumcised at Gilgal as Joshua led them in obedience to God's command. Through the painful yet resolute process of circumcision, the Israelites displayed their unwavering faith and willingness to submit to God's commandments. The physical act served as a poignant reminder of their covenant with the Almighty, a bond that transcended mere words and rituals. In this profound moment of obedience and spiritual devotion, the Israelites prepared themselves not only for the physical battle ahead, but also for the spiritual warfare that would test their faith and resolve. The circumcision at Gilgal became a pivotal moment of introspection and commitment, symbolizing their readiness to face the challenges that awaited them in the conquest of Jericho. Then the Israelite men proclaimed, "This act binds us to our forefathers and reaffirms our commitment to the Lord." After the circumcision, the Israelite men rested and recovered at Gilgal, while Joshua waited for the sign of God's favor. At this point, Joshua prayed, "Lord, grant us healing and restoration as we prepare to enter the land you have promised us." During this time, Joshua encounters a mysterious figure standing before him, bearing a drawn sword. The mysterious figure said to him, "I am the angel of the Lord. I am the commander of the army of the Lord. Remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." With the circumcision completed and the divine encounter fresh in mind, Joshua and the Israelites prepare to celebrate the Passover. Joshua said to the priests, "Prepare the Passover lamb and unleavened bread according to the instructions given to us by Moses." So the Israelites observed the Passover at Gilgal, commemorating their liberation from Egypt and the beginning of a new chapter in their journey. Then the Israelites raised their voices, saying, "Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered us from bondage and brought us to this land of promise." With the circumcision symbolizing their covenant with God and the Passover signifying their redemption, the Israelites stood ready to inherit the land of Canaan under Joshua's leadership. With the Israelites camped outside the mighty walls of Jericho, Joshua receives divine instructions for the city's conquest. Joshua addressed the Israelite army, saying, "The Lord has commanded us to march around the walls of Jericho, carrying the Ark of the Covenant for 6 days." So the Israelite army prepared for the unconventional battle strategy, with the priests carrying the ark leading the way. Joshua encouraged the soldiers, "Trust in the Lord's plan, for he will deliver Jericho into our hands." Knowing that the army of Israel is set to attack Jericho, Rahab, the prostitute who aided the Israelite spies, warned her family of the impending doom. She pleaded with them and advised everyone to seek refuge with the Israelites because their God is powerful, and Jericho will fall. On the first day, the Israelites marched silently around the walls of Jericho, with the priests blowing trumpets. They said, "Let the trumpets sound, announce the Lord's presence among us." The king of Jericho suspiciously observed the Israelites' strange actions inside the city and quickly commanded his soldiers, "Prepare the defenses. We must be ready to repel any attack from the Israelites." However, the Israelites repeated the procession around Jericho's walls for 6 days, while the city remained on high alert. The Israelite soldiers maintained discipline and remained steadfast, for victory was near. They trusted in the Lord's plan. On the 7th day, Joshua ordered the Israelites to march around Jericho 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. Joshua said to them, "Shout, for the Lord has given us the city." As the Israelites shouted in unison, the walls of Jericho crumbled before them, allowing the army to enter the city and conquer it. As soon as this happened, the Israelite army cheered triumphantly. "The Lord has delivered Jericho into our hands. His power has brought down the walls." In all of this disaster over Jericho, Rahab and her family are spared from the destruction, as promised by the Israelite spies. Joshua said to Rahab, "You and your family are safe among us. Your faith has saved you from the city's destruction." With the fall of Jericho, the Israelites witnessed the fulfillment of God's promise and the power of obedience and faith. So the story of Joshua depicts the dramatic conquest of Jericho, where the city's walls crumbled before the might of God, and Rahab's faith was rewarded with deliverance.